Hey, Jim here from K2 Concepts, shooting another video on upgrades to our blast cabinet that we've done. To start out with the Siphon Feed, and a lot of people kept asking, well, what'd you do here, what'd you do there? So we're shooting a video on pretty much every improvement that we've done, or we feel that was an improvement to our that blast cabinet. Okay, well, I guess at that point, we have a little Tecate for the haters. Okay, now it's important to point out that with the less expensive blast cabinets, below $1,000 bucks, below $1,500 bucks, whatever you're going to spend, any improvement that you make is going to make your blast cabinet better. So these are just improvements that we saw that we thought you guys would be able to apply. Whether it's a less expensive blast cabinet, more, that's not it. It's just things that we saw that we improved, and it helped with our efficiency, the design of the cabinet. So first of all, you want to check your fit and finish. Make sure everything's lining up, all right? With us, we noticed that the pneumatic lifts were pulling the cabinet, the top of the cabinet, the clamshell here, one way or another. And so what we ended up doing was shimming them up with some washers and help line it up. So check your fit and finish. Make sure you've got a good seal. If you don't, go down and grab some rubber foam from Home Depot. This is 1.25 inch wide, 7/16 thick rubber foam, and we use that to seal up both the doors and the clamshell itself. It's good, but I think what you guys are going to notice is that over the year or two, this is something that should probably be routine maintenance. You're going to need to replace the insulation, and it doesn't necessarily have to be difficult. You don't have to strip off the old stuff. You may just want to grab it, and it's got a sticky back, and stick it and fill in the gaps, and keep that media in your cabinet where it belongs, not out on the floor or in your shop where you're sweeping it up and, you know, not necessarily using it efficiently. Okay, so fit and finish, line everything up, seal everything up, whether it's doors or anything else. And then at that point, now you want to maybe pay attention to your air delivery system. So at that point, what we did was we put in a regulator. Now that will give you the ability to raise and lower the pressure depending on both the items that you're sandblasting or you're blasting, media blasting, and the media that you're using. Some media, like aluminum oxide, garnet, is a little more aggressive than something like, say, glass beads or walnuts. You're gonna want shells. You're gonna want to be able to adjust the pressure up and down to be able to work more efficiently. And sometimes you're going to want to crank it up, especially when you're like stripping paint off or powder coating or something like that. Use an aggressive media and crank the pressure up. If all you're doing is maybe some polishing, you want to do some glass beads, you know, you're going to want to drop that pressure down. And plastic obviously takes less pressure than some kind of metal. So rather than just blasting everything at 120 to 150 pounds coming out of your compressor, you want to be able to control that. So it's worth spending a couple bucks and creating some kind of pressure control that you can raise and lower the pressure that's being delivered to your cabinet. Okay, so that's number two. The other thing, get some kind of mat that you can stand on. You can get these cheap at Home Depot. I mean, you can get them even at Harbor Freight, but you're creating a static charge, so you're going to get shocked. Make sure you got some kind of padding under your feet so you don't ground out. If you've got really nice electrician's boots that have insulators in them and you're not grounding out, then yeah, that's fine. But for most of us that are wearing regular shoes or regular work boots, get some padding. It's going to reduce your fatigue as well, because if you're standing there for a long time, it gets tough on your legs. Okay, so get a pad underneath it. For us, what we did too is we installed air delivery system. This was a little nozzle that we cut a hole into the side where our air came in, and we created an air delivery system so we could air off our parts, because sometimes you've got a lot of media on your parts or it's in there, and you can take it out, it's going to get all over the floor until you wash it out, and then once you wash it out, sometimes it's going to turn to mud. A lot of times you should probably just hose off the parts real quick with air, blow all that crap out of there before you pull it out of the cabinet, and then take it over, wash it, get all the rest of that garbage out. So we have an air delivery system. Let's see, pickup. Now, getting back to the siphon feed, what we did find out, here's an improvement that just about everybody can make, is that we lengthened our feed, the media feed tube. So the media feed tube is about that long, so say about 12 inches. We doubled it with a piece of 1/2 inch copper. And this, again, this is a do-it-yourself thing. What we're going to do eventually is just make this one solid piece of copper, drill a hole in here so you have some kind of relief or pickup that helps move the media along. But in the meantime, what we did was we cut a piece of 1/2 inch copper, another 12 inches or so, attached it to the end, sealed it with some heat shrink. This is, I think, 3/4 inch heat shrink and a heat gun, and sealed it so now it's not coming apart. And we moved it out of the way where the troughs are, so it's not gathering media and not stacking it up. And we noticed a significant improvement. Matter of fact, I think this is probably one of the better moves you guys can make on your media delivery, is just lengthening the tube. Don't stick it down the bottom like they got it from the factory, but create a bigger tube, larger diameter, better angle. The one from the factory's got a very steep angle, probably about 10 to 15 degrees. This is about 45 degrees. That's going to give you more area for your pickup, and it's a larger pickup tube, so you're going to deliver more media. That's the first thing we noticed. So we're pretty darn happy with this upgrade, and that's something anybody can do besides the siphon. So we're still working on the siphon. I think it's a good idea, but we have not had any pulsing of material since we adopted this. So something to think about. Extend the pickup tube. Speaking of the valleys and how your media feeds, one of the things you guys are going to want to do is probably seal the outside of your media delivery. So if it's welded and it's a nice tight weld, all your plates, you're not worried about that, you're not worried about media leaking, then don't worry about it. But if they have butt joints where you can see a gap, well, then you may want to run some silicone down those, some kind of latex caulking. I prefer some kind of duct sealant because it's metal to metal and it'll dry pretty hard, and that will seal up any of your media leaking out of your cabinet. Okay, now as far as your exhaust systems, most of these come with some kind of, for lack of a better word, a bag house, some kind of bag exhaust system that filters out the media before it gets into your shop, but it's still recirculating. So the problem is that it's loading up the bag. Now for us, that wasn't an option because we loaded that thing up so quick that we were rinsing that thing out, washing that thing out every single day, and that just wasn't efficient. So what we did was we ran down to Home Depot, got one of their single stage exhaust systems, turned it into a 2-stage system, and that definitely improved our vacuum delivery exhaust, I don't know, what do you want to call it, exhaust system out of the cabinet. Okay, so in order to make it even more efficient, because I'm an air conditioning guy, I'm used to the air delivery, what we did was we cut 10x6 boot on the center side and the back of where the lights are located on my cabinet. So all the exhaust comes through the sides and lifts and goes to a center point. Okay, it's not going from one end of the cabinet to the other end of the cabinet, because most exhaust systems pull from one side or the other. So you got a fresh air in, air out, and plus you have air being added to the cabinet when you're blasting. All right, the problem is, what you guys are going to notice, and what we notice, is it fogs one side of your glass. So by adding the exhaust system to the middle and using the intakes on each side to deliver air, we noticed right away that we didn't fog up one half of our our protective glass that we were looking through. It wasn't fogging up one side because all the media was going towards that side as it exhausted. All right. So definite improvement if you center up your exhaust delivery system, pull in from both sides, and you could use something as simply as electrical tape to increase the flow on your intakes. So if you make this modification, you've got all your exhaust drawing from the middle, and you notice that your exhaust is kind of suffering, just throw some duct tape over the intakes, and you'll notice that your gloves will start to stand straight out. And that's a good delivery system. It's not bouncing off the glass, it's going right back into the exhaust, okay? So that's definitely something to think about. We modified that. And then speaking of glass, what we did with our glass is we cut an extra piece of plexiglass, and then we use graffiti film, window tint. They call it graffiti tint. It's to keep guys from keying windows and plexiglass on bus stops and stuff like that. All right. What we did was we have a guy that for 20 bucks he covers that piece of plexiglass with graffiti film, and then we keep it on standby. Once our glass gets a little bit fogged, we change it out, throw the brand new one in there, strip it down. If you're using plexiglass, make sure that you use Goo Gone to clean it. If you use anything else, according to what we understand, it's going to fog the plexiglass. So you want to use Goo Gone to clean all the adhesive off, take it back to the guy, have him apply a new sheet of a graffiti film, and then you got a standby. So once this gets fogged, we switch it out and we're good to go. We're not losing any downtime. And man, I think that's it for right now. Oh, the other thing is, make sure you pay attention to your electrical connections on your unit. What we found was that the connections, the electrical in these things is pretty light. So once you guys start using heavy duty, maybe even the stock exhaust fan, or if you upgrade your units, what you're going to see is your connections are going to burn. You're kind of seeing, so you're going to overamp them. So you have to be careful. We just opened ours up because we had heard some feedback about external fans that are bigger than what the units came with. Yes, you're getting a lot more air, you're getting a lot more delivery system, but you're also drawing some more amps. And what we found was a bunch of burnt connections. So we rewired. These things are probably, man, a 16 gauge, 14 to 16 gauge. The higher the number within electrical, the smaller the wire is, and sometimes it's not going to be able to handle it. So we replaced everything with number 10 in our unit, and we're only drawing 5 to 6 amps out of our exhaust system, so we're covered. But make sure that, and if you don't know how to check your amp draw, get with an electrician, but make sure you're not creating more problems if you add an aftermarket exhaust system that doesn't come standard. And I think that you guys are going to have a lot of benefits by doing that simple upgrade as well. So, man, we're still experimenting with the Siphon Feed. We will be shooting another video on it. We're going to feed it directly in and see if that creates or solves some of the problems that we have as far as the pulsing. But we'll get that up pretty soon. Anyhow, I got lit up and haven't followed up since February, so it's April. Anyhow, that's it for this one. Join us on the forum, k2forums.com. I'm sorry it was a lengthy video. I do apologize. It's just we had a lot of information here, so I hope you guys are finding it useful. Email me, k2forums@gmail.com. We will be shooting a video on how to create a two-stage exhaust system out of a single-stage Harbor Freight exhaust system. The things are awesome as long as you set it up correctly. So we'll be shooting a video on that as well. So look for that coming up. Activator guns, activator, other supplies, k2shoponline.com. And that's about it for this one. Man, I talked myself out. Little crowing for the haters. I hope you guys are having a good day dipping. We'll talk to you later.